it's Dave, and this is Someday is Today. I've got 7 options we're going to cover today in regards to diesel fuel savings and how RVers can hopefully work around the fact that there's this diesel shortage, and obviously the cost went up because of supply and demand. So I want to cover 7 things. I hope you'll hold on through the entire video to the end to hear probably the most controversial of the 7 that I think everybody should potentially consider. So use the Gas Buddy app to find some of the best prices that you can get as you go along the road. I think it's really important that you monitor and just not pull into the first place that happens to be there on the road. I know a lot of you don't do that. You do shop. But Gas Buddy has worked very well for me, and I highly recommend it. Also consider step number 2, change your plans. RV closer to home. Don't necessarily take a long road trip until things settle down, maybe after the first of the year, going into 2023, and see how the spring works out, see if the season works out, and whether or not supply is going to be better and price maybe comes down. Another important item, this will be item 3, fill up your tank when you get to a quarter tank. Go ahead and plan that you're going to stop maybe a little more often and make sure you've got plenty of diesel in that truck to get you where you need to go and not have to worry about potentially running out, which is not a good thing. The next item is use the 3-3 rule, and this sort of goes along with changing your plans a little and maybe RVing closer to home. But I've got a video on the 3-3 rule that you can watch, and it explains how that works, and it makes a lot of sense. It sort of reduces the pace of travel, and obviously by traveling less, you'll burn less fuel. Keep your tow vehicle and your trailer, but mostly your tow vehicle, in tip-top shape. Make sure it goes in for regular maintenance. Make sure that we're changing the oil. And along with that, and one of the items is check the tire pressure on a regular basis on both your tow vehicle and your trailer, because that can really have a major impact on mileage. And also, if you can reduce some of the weight that you're hauling along, that'll help your mileage as well. Now for the controversial item that I have, number 7, that I hope people will consider, as I think it makes a lot of sense, both from an upfront cost, a maintenance cost, and obviously the impacts of the cost of diesel and possible shortages in the future. And that's to consider changing over to a gas engine versus a diesel engine. And I know some people will say no way. Others might say, hey, that's maybe not a bad idea. And there's people that are going to want to buy a used diesel because of various reasons. And you can now get a gas truck fairly easily. The wait is not too awful long. So hopefully that's something to consider. So there's your 7 items that I think will help those RVers that are using diesel vehicles to pull their trailer, or their RV has a diesel engine, like some of the Sprinters and things of that sort. So keep that all in mind, and we'll see you down the road. And welcome to SIT Breaking News. Today we're going to look at dispersed camping in jeopardy and how to protect our land resources for the future. Dispersed camping on public lands has some rules, and it appears that over the last year or two, some people may not have been following all those rules, and that's why it's critical, I think, that we review these and take some action. Remember that there's a 14-day limit in dispersed camping on public lands, BLM lands in particular. And you need to choose an established campsite. Now, I've read some information that it's pretty hard to spot. That's sort of disappointing. Hopefully it's fairly easy, but not so apparent that and been so abused that you know that that's a place somebody's camped at for sure. You need to be 200 feet from any water source. No fire rings, don't create one, and I highly recommend not to use one. During the drought, wildfires have been rampant, and having a fire, it's really quaint, and the aesthetic is wonderful, but the fact is it's very dangerous. And then remember that one of the most important rules is leave no trace, no trash, nothing. In fact, rake the spot a little bit to even make your footprints disappear would be a nice touch. So become a changer for the protective use of BLM public lands for dispersed camping. Our future, our land depends on it. So please join me in taking great care when we go out and do dispersed camping. We'll see you down the road. There's a couple of safety components that you want to make sure and keep a real close eyeball on and test on a regular basis. I test mine monthly, and I replace the 9-volt batteries once a year, and that would be your smoke detector and your carbon monoxide detector. There's also a propane detector that should be in your RV, and that gets changed out, I think, every 5 years. But check the manual for your RV on those items. Just an easy check. Just do it once a month. It should be on your maintenance checklist, and it'll certainly keep things a lot safer for you. As it relates to the other two appliances, you've got your air conditioner, which is also something you want to maintain on a regular basis, and clean the filters and clean the outside of the unit at least on a seasonal basis. And then I always test my heater during the winter time, even if I'm not out on the road. That's the furnace, and make sure it's going to light up and do what it needs to do properly, as well as the hot water heater, and you want to test that on a regular basis as well. If you've got full hookup, you got water in your tank, so that you can run it and make sure it's going to fire up for you when you really need it. So that's everything on appliances that I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure and practice your safety measures as it relates to the detectors, and always keep that fan on whenever you're using your stove and oven. We'll see you down the road. The magma chamber inside the volcano. This is a bit of photos of an adventure that I was on where I got to go inside the magma chamber of a dormant volcano. This is actually a shield volcano, so named for their broad shield-like profiles, and are formed by the eruption of low viscosity lava that can flow a great distance from a vent. They generally do not explode catastrophically, but are characterized by relatively gentle effusion eruptions. Since low viscosity magma is typically low in silica, shield volcanoes are more common in oceanic than continental settings. Examples would be the Hawaiian volcano chain, which is really a series of shield cones, and they're also very common in Iceland as well. Extinct volcanoes are those that scientists consider unlikely to erupt again because the volcano no longer has a supply of magma. Dormant volcanoes, on the other hand, have a sticky bit of molten or semi-molten stuff beneath the magma chamber, but it would have to be reheated in order to wake up. So in this particular case, this was a dormant volcano that had not been active for over 4,000 years and was considered safe enough to provide entry down into the actual magma chamber of this volcano. And it was a 700-foot drop to the bottom of the chamber, and I was fortunate enough to hike into this area and participate in the exploration of this magma chamber. This is really an adventure I hope everybody gets a chance to take. It's really one of those 20 places you must see before you die, at least according to CNN. I found it to be absolutely fascinating and would highly recommend it to anyone that can make the trip, which is about 3.5 miles round trip to get to the volcano itself, then the time to lower yourself into the chamber, and then of course after all that excitement hike about 1.7 miles back to get to the road. But it was well worth it, and I highly recommend it. Have safe travels as you head down the road. Take care.